Hello again. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage and talking to the folks that make the race cars go around the racetrack. We are so glad that you have joined us. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, joined by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief, Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's what a phenomenal weekend. 5 overtimes. Joey Logano, Paul Wolfe stretched the fuel out.
Wow. If you ask me, the gamble by Paul Wolfe to win the race is huge, but then when you put where their position was with everything, was it a? I
think they felt like they had to win. That's been publicized. They felt like they had to have a win by New Hampshire. They didn't get it.
Right.
And really, I think they had to win. I don't think they were in making it in a points position. Mm-hmm. I just don't. And we can get into that deeper, but when you look at it, we went 110 laps, but I think 43, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them were caution laps.
A lot of caution laps.
If I look back afterwards, I can do the math, knowing how good Joey is at saving fuel.
There's the key, right?
He's really good. And their pace was a little off, which means their mileage should have been a little better. I can put it together that they make it to that point. Everybody wants to talk about what was different, but Joey's really good at saving fuel and put himself in a position, and Paul made a gutsy call. I mean, they ran out coming to the check. Yeah. So good for those guys.
Joey has a lot of good skill sets. One of them is saving fuel. One of them is green-white checkers in the lead. Yeah. He is so talented at keeping people behind him.
He can block like you can.
He can exactly, and that is.
I mean, Ross Chastain's right there with him, but those two are the best at it, and that's what you've got to do. He needed a win to get him to the playoffs. He got it. That is 100% meant as complimentary. That is for sure. All right, let's dig a little deeper into this thing, because you said he has to race his way in, or win his way in. This bubble chaos is just that. It is chaos. Alex Bowman is 51 points to the good on paper, point-wise, but is he in the clear now? No. I feel like Alex Bowman's the first, if not the second one out.
Yeah.
As you look at it, you got to look at the schedule coming up. I mean, he's sitting there at the cut line, but we're going to Chicago this weekend.
Right.
How many people can win at Chicago and put themselves through? I mean, when you look down below it, I mean, Chase Briscoe's a pretty good road course racer. Chris Buescher may advance himself, and that would be good for Alex.
Right.
But how about Kyle Busch? Stuffed it under the tire barrier, had to be pulled out in a handful of laps, and still finished in the top 5. Last week, we wrote them off at the rain delay. They were 30-something a lap down and ends up in the top 5. Yeah. So I think there's Todd Gilliland could be good. Michael McDowell could go out and pull off a win here. I mean, he won in Indianapolis last year. He's been really good. There's a lot of people that still can win here. Oh, and by the way, the second to last race of the season.
There we go.
Is Daytona. And when you look at it, I've done this with Steve Letarte. We've gone through it. There's 8 guys below the cut line that I feel legitimately can win Daytona.
Yeah.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daytona 500 champion. Michael McDowell, Daytona 500 champion. Kyle Busch is a very good speedway racer. You got
Austin Dillon's back there.
Yes.
Austin Dillon is in that category.
When you come down through this,
Bubba Wallace is in it. Yeah.
Yes.
Crazy.
Todd Gilliland has led a bunch of laps. Yeah. Harrison Burton in a Woods Brother car. I mean, there's a lot of people, especially how the chaos of Daytona works. I think if you're looking at this as a crew chief, you've got to say we're at least going to have a new winner at Daytona.
Right.
And I've got to count on that and position myself according to that. And if you say that means Alex Bowman's the first one out. And now you have 4 cars within 19 points racing for 3 positions.
Yes.
If that's the only winner.
Right.
It might be for two spots.
Yeah. To me, the one that jumps out is Chris Buescher. Remember 2 months ago? Kansas Speedway, a couple of inches.
Yes.
Remember at Darlington when he confronted Tyler Reddick? You have one of those win stickers on your car.
Yeah.
Chris Buescher, that to me, in fact, because if we get one more winner, Chris Buescher, the way the points sit now, is that bubble driver.
Yes. I mean, we're right there. It's Alex Bowman is
he is on the bubble now,
and he's plus 51, which I really think anybody behind him
has to win.
Yeah. I do, and it's because you're 51 to Bubba Wallace, you're 78 to Chase Briscoe, you're 104 to Kyle Busch. Those guys have got to win, but they're capable of winning. Mm-hmm. And really, you look at the schedule coming forward. We've got Chicago Street Course this weekend. Then we go to Pocono. Pocono can be a strategy race.
Absolutely.
A place that you can pit under green and not go a lap down. Yep. So the strategies play out that way. Indianapolis, back on the big track. Another place that you can pit under green and not go a lap down. I've done it before. There's strategy pieces to Indianapolis. And we get our break, but we come back to Richmond,
Michigan, Daytona, Darlington.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, who's won at Darlington twice?
Yeah, Eric Jones, that driver that is sitting back there in 28th in points.
So there's so many opportunities. Yeah. Michigan could be one that somebody pulls one out.
Fuel mileage up there, we talk about that a lot.
How about Josh Berry at Richmond?
Yeah.
I wouldn't write Josh Berry. I mean, there's so many opportunities you could say this in these next 7. If I'm sitting in these 4, I feel like I got to win.
You got to win. Yeah.
It's a challenge.
It really truly is. It is going to be fun to watch. 7 races to go, and we kick it off at Chicago. A couple of attaboys real quick. Joey Logano, Paul Wolf. Paul, 39th career win. He is now tied for 12th with Alan Gustafson as far as career wins go. Stephen Doran and Zane Smith. Got to give them an attaboy for a good finish. Man, that is really, really cool for them. Tyler Allen, we seem to give Tyler a lot of attaboys because he wins. At least he's won with the same driver twice now.
Yes.
5 wins, 4 different drivers, John Hunter Nemechek, and Charles Deneke and Christian Eckes every lap. Have you ever done that?
Started 3rd.
Have you ever done that?
No.
I mean, it's unreal. Great stuff. So a lot of attaboys. Okay, we are going to Chicago. And if you remember last year at Chicago, Shane Van Gisbergen barnstormed the whole NASCAR industry by taking the win. We'll talk to Travis Mack, his crew chief, going into this weekend's race. We'll talk to Travis next. Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, and let's go up to Kaulig Racing. Joining us, crew chief this weekend, going to be crew chief for Shane Van Gisbergen. Travis Mack joins us. Hello, Travis. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We are fantastic. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about Chicago with SVG going up there, with you being his crew chief. But before we get into that, kind of want to just get a lay of the land. You've had 5 different drivers this year. What are the challenges of that? What types of things have you been working on with your number 16 team up there at Kaulig Racing?
We've had a really solid team. We look at it as every single week we put the same effort into the car, and no matter who's driving, and it's been good. It's been a great experience working with so many different drivers throughout the year. But then again, we can't get in a rhythm of what the driver's feedback sounds like, what the driver's looking for in the car. They all explain the car a little differently, but we are starting to learn how to adjust our cars because we're getting similar comments from each driver, trying to describe the same thing a different way. So I do think it helps us in some ways, but it might just take us a little bit longer to make those changes and with the different drivers and different views on what they're feeling in the car. But after this week with AJ, we've made some changes on the car, and Todd Dillon's been really good for us to give us really great feedback as well. And I feel like going forward the next few months, we're going to have some pretty good speed on the racetrack.
Talk a little bit about the support difference. You came from Trackhouse, who's a Tier 1 program for Chevrolet and access to everything, and now you're at Kaulig in kind of an alliance team. Talk about kind of what's the difference between the two for you.
Yeah, you definitely get a lot less information in some ways. Some ways it's good, some ways it's bad. It's those weekends where you're pretty far off and you're looking for direction to go and you don't have that information to lean back on. So that's the biggest difference, biggest challenge. But other than that, it's, we stick to our roots and not much has changed on the car, thankfully, except for a short track package and thankfully intermediates and stuff, not much has changed. So, looking back in notes and everything makes sense, and we could take this similar setups from last year to this year and run okay.
We talked about the various drivers. You've had AJ Allmendinger 6 times, Derek Kraus 5 times, Ty Dillon 3 times, Josh Williams twice, and Shane Van Gisbergen 3 times. You've had him once on a road course down at COTA. Then you've had him at Talladega and at Charlotte. What have you learned about SVG as you kind of go now to his bread and butter up in Chicago? What have you learned about your driver this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great dude. He's such a great dude. we've been hanging out a lot. We've done some dinners together. We just did pit practice together. We had to do backwards pit stops, so we came in early this morning, and all the road crew and kind of worked through that and worked on him getting in the pit box backwards. He hasn't done that since a year ago at Chicago, so that went really well. And just his communication and his calmness and his just everything he brings to the table has been amazing. We had a really good time at Charlotte. I hated that race got rain delayed because he was just getting in the swing of things. And I really felt like we could have finished out that race top 20, top 15, and that would have been great for him in his first oval race in this Cup car. So going to Chicago, obviously, he's going to be the guy to beat. First time driving there last year, he was amazing. So it took him a little bit to get going. I mean, it sounds crazy, but, I think he could have qualified better, started the race out stronger. But by the time stage 3 came along, I mean, he was the strongest car on the track. So this year, I look for him just to start out where he was last year, and he's going to be on fire right off the truck. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of looks at it that way. You talked a little bit about using the notebooks from last year because a lot of places are similar. This looks like it's going to be a dry race, which makes it a different racetrack. How much of the notebook plays forward from what you saw last year at Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, they still ended the race last year in the dry, I believe, and we really weren't able to adjust the cars last year from the dry to the rain. So we still took similar setup, and it still ran well in both. Street courses, I think, are a little bit different than your Watkins Glens or your Indy courses. So it's a little bit different setup anyway, probably more of a rain setup, you would call it anyway. So I don't think it would change too much for us.
What is obviously we look at it, the street course is so unique, but as far as building a car, what your car needs to do, what does a good car need to do to have success this week on the streets of Chicago?
Stay out of the walls.
Well, there's
you look at, there was a lot of good cars last year that took themselves out of the race, and Shane did a great job of managing that. Saw several guys trying to keep up with him, fence their cars, trying to do what he was doing. So he needs to stick to what he knows, be patient. We need to have a smooth race and let it come to us, and he'll be just fine.
I remember talking to him last year. He talked about the fact that they didn't have side mirrors on these cars because that was almost like a feeler for the right side. It's just interesting to hear him talk about those things. What kind of conversations have you and Shane had? What has he enlightened you to about the street course and pieces going forward there?
I mean, it's really his roots. It's amazing to think back last year. We were just talking about it, but he went from driving on the right side of a car, shifting left-handed, to jumped in this Cup car for the first time on the left side of the car. And think about that, and having to shift with his right hand, and went out and won the race. And that's very impressive. And the things that he does in the car, his IQ level is through the roof. The things that he could process while he's racing is really impressive as well. Most drivers, they'll turn the brake bias knob maybe once a lap, and then they'll leave it there for several laps, where he's doing it different brake bias for every single corner. He's flipping switches, he's turning knobs. He loves that. It's like the more he has going on, the more calm he is in the car. So we're just going to that, let him do his thing. We'll give him what he needs on the track and with the car, and we'll be ready.
Travis, one of the things, I think SVG, obviously he has a huge skill set. Obviously the rain didn't hurt him get in position there, and street racing is so unique in his first time on it. We have all this telemetry, though. What's the concern level that everybody has seen everything that he has done, and someone's going to try to duplicate it as we go to Chicago this weekend?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that's going to be tried, and guys are definitely going to get better watching Shane and watching what he's done in the car. And he's still showing guys in the Xfinity Series how to get around the racetrack. I heard a comment from Ty Gibbs at Sonoma following Shane was he learned so much while following him on the racetrack. And so all these guys are going to get better. All these guys are going to show up better this year. Last year they've all got that race under their belt. They're going to show up. They're ready to go, so we're going to have to do the same.
We go to the weekend, second time there, we get a 20-minute practice for you guys on a street course. What can you do in a 20-minute practice?
Shake the car down, give the driver some laps, let him go out with the car. Not sure there'd be too many changes we can make, maybe some shot clicks or adjustments and route heights, but other than that, you can't change springs. You're kind of dialed in at road courses with what you have when you unload. So not too much. It's more for the driver, maybe air pressures, looking at the tires, that kind of things for qualifying in the race and seeing how it goes.
Travis, Todd mentioned a short practice session. The race is rather short, 165 miles. Yeah. How does I'm not going to ask you all the details, but do you kind of have a plan, a strategy as you go into this thing because it is such a short race?
Yeah, we're starting to dig into that this week. I think that's going to be the number one factor this week is to look at the strategy, how it plays out. Whether it's going to be, it is such a short race. It's, are you going to do one stop? Are you going to do two stop it? We're not looking for any kind of points situation. Right. We're only looking to win the race. So to me, that makes it easier for us. Definitely makes it easier when it comes into stages. If we got to pit before the stage and give up the lead, then that's what we'll do. So we're strictly looking to be out front at lap 75, and that's all that matters to us.
Yeah, you talk about it's 165 miles. When you look at the fuel windows, that's attainable, right? But you got to see what tire degradation is going to look like, how much the car kind of falls away. Stages at 20 and 45. Short pitting, if you look at 75, try to cut it in half, that kind of plays into it. Be interesting to see where that all plays out for you guys.
Yeah, like you said, the tire fall off and it really depends on how many cars do each strategy. If you're only got two guys that do one stop strategy, it's probably not going to work out. But if you have 10 or 15 that does one-stop strategy, more likely that's the strategy that's going to win the race because the guys on two-stop strategy are going to have to pass 15 cars to get back to the lead. So definitely going to have to look at history, understand which teams trend toward what strategy and who's looking for points and who's looking for wins. So there's a lot to play into it, and we'll have to be prepared for everything because obviously when you get to a NASCAR weekend, nothing goes as smooth as you think it's going to be. So you got to be prepared for whatever. Yeah,
that 20-minute practice, you can say I'm going to run it long and just run all the laps I can, but then a caution in the middle of it, right? So, or three of them. Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it plays out this weekend.
No doubt. Going to be fun, that's for sure. We roll along, we go to Indy, and then we have a 2-week break. Travis, what's the plan for the 2-week? You and spend some family time away from the. What's the plan for the break?
Absolutely. Looking to the beach with some family and friends, and really looking forward to that. We got a new baby. He's 10 weeks old this Congrats. Week. So be the first time we get to take him to the ocean and hang out on the beach a little bit, kind of have a relaxing week. And I was already talking to my brother and my buddy we're renting a place with and just talking about putting our cell phones away for the week and, busy guys as well and with their businesses and just trying to limit, electronics and screens and everything for the kids and just having a really good week together and really looking forward to those 2 weeks off. It's much needed for sure.
I highly recommend it. I did the beach trip. I did 5 days and I would check in the morning. I had my daughters. The only people that needed to contact me were with me. And I would check in real quick in the morning to make sure the world was still standing, but I highly recommend that. Screen time and beach time, ocean time, family time, that's for sure. Travis cannot wait for this weekend to see what you guys have and really what everyone else has across the board. It's going to be a fun weekend in Chicago. We appreciate you joining us here on Crew Call and breaking it down for us.
Thank you guys for having me, and hopefully I'm back on here after we win a race or two and talk about playoffs. So
that'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Travis.
Thank you, guys.
There we go. Travis Mack from up at Kaulig Racing. Stay with us. More Crew Call in just a moment. Crew Call rolling along here, and Todd Gordon and Steve Post. And, man, I'm telling you what, I am so excited about this. So many challenges, though, with this race. The Grant Park 165. Travis, I think, laid it out. One stop. Fuel-wise, that's all you're going to need to do. But I think his point is very valid. If 2 or 3 of you do it, that's going to put a whole lot of fast cars closer. I don't know. It's fascinating.
The piece that I look at is that tire degradation is going to dictate this. If there's no lap time fall off, you one-stop this race. I don't care what anybody does. If there's no lap time fall off, I'm going to one-stop this race. But when you look at it, and I think that the opportunity is if there's not a lot of lap time degradation, then stage 1's 20, stage 2's 45.
Right.
Well, if you cut 75 and a half, you're going to come at 37.
Yeah.
Right? 37, 38. You've got a couple of pace laps to start with 37. Well, I can get to 43 or 42. I really think I'm going to run that first one to 42.
And then pit.
I'm gonna three laps before the stage. I'm gonna short pit the stage and put myself, as long as I'm not far enough behind the leader
to lose a lap.
To lose a lap, I think that would be the call. But we'll see. I mean, you've only got 20 minutes of practice.
Yeah,
you're not going to get to run 30 laps to see what the lap time fall off is going to be like. Yeah. It may be good for 15 or 20 and then fall off a cliff.
Yeah,
I've been down that road before. So
yeah, it's fascinating. And the other thing is if you only knew what everyone else is going to do. Which we don't.
That's It is. We've seen this many times. I mean, strategies can be the right call or wrong call might not be what strategy you pick. It's how many other people pick your strategy with you.
One other thing about Chicago, and he mentioned we just finished up some pit crew practice, I believe, there. Mm-hmm. This is the reverse pit stop. The first time where the cars, to describe this, if you're standing on pit wall or on the pit box, cars normally come in from the right and leave to the left. This and Watkins Glen, I believe, are the only 2 right now where they'll come in to the left and everything. Well, how drastic is that for these teams?
It changes all your geometry. And when you talk about it and you look at it, I mean, we've got to the point that we've got sub 10-second pit stops.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you have to be, every detail has to be fluent. It just, there's no time that you can give up. You're making that time every place. And the footwork getting around the car, the approach of getting the car coming to you, and instead of in the past you think about a changer coming from the opposite direction. It's a different muscle memory. So what would be a 10-second pit stop at, say, Sonoma, it's probably going to be 11.5-second pit stop here. It's just it changes your kind of the flow of the pit stop. And its continuity, it's going to be a little slower.
Man, I'll tell you what, it is going to be awesome. That is for sure. Motor Racing Network going to be there all weekend, 12:30 Eastern time on Saturday. 3 o'clock, it's the Loop 110 NASCAR Xfinity Series race. Cole Custer, the defending winner of that race. And Sunday, 3:30 Eastern time, the NASCAR Cup Series, the Grant Park 165, the streets of Chicago are going to be alive with NASCAR this week. Lots of concerts, lots of music, lots of fun. Fingers crossed the weather cooperates. Forecast is looking good. I cannot imagine how many people are going to be in Grant Park over the weekend.
Oh, it's going to be phenomenal. If the weather forecast sticks up and holds up, mid-80s, partly sunny, a beautiful weekend to take in downtown Chicago in all the venues and all the things that are going to happen.
Great stuff. That is for sure. Great stuff as well with Travis Mack. We appreciate Travis joining us here on the program. More important, though, than all of that, thank you for joining us here this time on Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network.